Hey, everybody, and welcome to another Kinsta Talks episode. My name is Marcel Bootsman, and I'm the Partnerships and Community Manager for Kinsta in the EMEA region. And today in the call is Estela Rueda. Hi, Estela.
Hello, Marcel. How are you?
I am good. How about you?
I'm great. Always.
Excellent. That's good to hear. You look great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So Estela is a longtime contributor to the WordPress project, and she can probably introduce herself in a few lines much better than I can. So I'm going to ask Estela, please give a little
Yes.
introduction about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Estela Rueda, aka Estelaris in the WordPress world. I've been a long-time contributor to the WordPress project. Right now, I'm focusing on the documentation team. My biggest contribution to the project as of right now has been the redesign and recategorization of all the user documentation, which I did. That was a huge 2-year project, which was amazing. Obviously, it wasn't not just me, okay? I just kind of like led work on the hard thing, and the whole documentation team took part of it. And that was it. This project came as a conclusion from moving all the documentation from the Codex into WordPress. But then they did not categorize it properly, didn't work properly in WordPress, and it was very confusing. So yeah, I tried to make it easier for the users, for non-developers to understand and find out where things are. And then because I wanted to change the page, I kind of planted the seed for the redesign of the WordPress.org, which I am glad I helped a little bit. I participated a little bit in the project, but yeah, it was a fun thing to do.
Cool. That's a good introduction. Thank you, Estela. So Estela is being sponsored by Kinsta as part of the community sponsorship program. And I want to, because your introduction, you mentioned the Codex, and I have a question already.
Yes.
I learned that I started with WordPress when I was operating an agency for myself and used the Codex a lot because I was a developer back then, used all the information that was there. And we're not going to discuss whether it was complete or not. It was there. But since this all has changed to a new documentation area where all things are being updated, but the Codex is still live, are there any plans to sunset the Codex?
Yes, there are, but it cannot be entirely sunset because there are locales that still use it. Like, for instance, one thing that happened to it was the Japanese one. It was in Codex, and then they moved it to another site that somehow, I believe the hosting company disappeared and shut it down, and they lost everything. So they have to start all over again. Then I believe the Russian local still uses the Codex and only uses the Codex. And there are several locals. I mean, I know those two because I've been looking into them, but I do not know anybody else. I do know that there are several. The English one, they've been trying to close it little by little, but once in a while, Google algorithm and once pops up there, we tried to delete it, but it's hard.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, I understand that the Codex then is a place that cannot be sunset this easily.
Yes.
Because also, correct me if I'm wrong, the English Codex pages are like the starting point, and based on the English pages, you have all the translations in the locales, right?
We'll say so. I'm not sure because I did not work on the Codex. I
No,
have
okay.
no clue how the Codex and translations were started or developed. So no, I don't know. But yes, they do need to have when we find pages in English, the algorithm pops them up again. We redirect them to the correct documentation
Nice.
that we have right now, so that in a way of trying to kill those links. But yeah, URLs still exist.
Yeah, of course. And because all the new place for documentation, if that replaces the Codex information, do you also remove the Codex information from the Codex page, and still keep the Codex page live with a link to the new location?
I will not know because that's being done in the backend, and only one person has access to that, and he is the only one responsible for. We just gotta go click like, DD, please, can you fix this? And there he goes.
Yes, okay. That's I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not go into the Codex then too deeply. Let's focus on what you have been doing. What can you explain a little bit what you have been doing since what was it, end of June that we had our
End
last
of
call?
June.
What have you been doing?
So many
We've
things.
got 20 minutes.
Okay, so make
Be,
it short and quick. First of all, we've been working with the release team. We were not aware of one thing that happened with the release teams. Decided to a decision was made up there in core and somewhere that we didn't know, we weren't aware of, to make an experiment and reduce the size of the release teams, because yeah, we were having release teams of 20-30 people, of which only, it's like when you're in school and you have those team projects, only two of them work and the other four just, hang out. So it was happening the same thing. So they're trying to reduce the size, but they remove documentation from the release team. And we cannot really be removed because a lot of our work depends on the releases. Yeah, we need to try to have it all. Besides, we were trying to have this experiment of releasing documentation written by AI for 6.9. We were removed together with other teams, right? We kind of, it totally threw us off base. So we talked to the core team, we discussed it with Mary, and we tried to make them understand it, like we do need to be. There are two things that are important. One, we need to keep track of everything that they are releasing so that we can, write documentation for it. And second, it is a lot about perception. I made this comment and I will say it. I was not aware because they called me and I helped with 6.8 and I was not aware of anybody doing the documentation in there, that we didn't have a documentation team lead in 6.8 either. And I don't think we were aware of it because we don't participate in all of them. The main teams, we try to let other team members be part of the release teams, so that you don't see the same name over and over and over again. And we also, because we like to mentor other people and distribute responsibilities. So when I was at WordCamp Europe during contributor day, I was leading the table and somebody approached me and they said, like, what is this team? I said, documentation. And we were talking about it. And then this person said to me, well, no, you're not even part of the release team. I'm not going to waste my time in here. Something like, this is a team that is not worth it. Something like that. He said, I don't remember exactly what this person said. And because I know people make dumb comments all the time, I just kind of like brush it off and like, you know what? You don't want to be here. Just move on. I got things to do. And I didn't care about it. But when we had this discussion and when I realized what was going on, I'm like, okay, this comment is important. And not the offensive part. I'm just going to remove the offensive part entirely of it. But it is important because there is a perception to it. If documentation, first of all, let's face it, documentation will always be the ugly duckling in software development. Nobody wants to be in documentation because it's boring. Yes, it is boring. But like I always said, try to build an IKEA cabinet without the instructions and let me know how it goes, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah, you call it boring, but sometimes the boring stuff is very necessary to have.
Yes, it is. It is. That's what I said. We will always be the ugly duckling. But when we develop, then there are beautiful things coming in there. So I tried to explain to the core team. The core team is like, well, we appreciate what the docs team does, but no, we don't need, we cannot have you. And so we talked to Mary, a whole discussion. I'm not going to give you details of it. The whole discussion, we agree with Mary to have right now a docs liaison for 6.9, where we're going to work on our own. And then I'm just going to work with the team, with the release team on the release day so that I can prepare and release all the 1, 2, 3. I think there are 5, 6 pages we need to release on release day, about the version, all the information about the version, updating another page. There are several pages. There's a lot of updates that we do take care of. And giving them a list, I mean, they have the list. Still, After 6.8, in the middle of the way, I'm like, we need to update these pages because you said you were going to do it. You didn't do it. So they have the list. They don't always do it. I always say, I don't know if it's the OCD in me or is the people do not read pages entirely, instructions entirely, or they just kind of like wing it and like wing it, like, I just update these 3 pages and I'll move on. It's not like that. So we agreed to do this, and no, we're moving on. We're happy. At the end of this experiment, we are going to have a discussion about whether, yes, the documentation team can be there, and they are going to evaluate whether a smaller release team is better than a larger release team. But this time, we are going to be invited to this discussion.
Good.
Because Mary said, I don't know why the documentation team was not in here, in the first discussion.
Yeah.
She wasn't aware of it, and she said that's a big problem. So I'm like, okay, fine. Let's just not, hang in the past. Let's move on. Let's progress. Let's the experiment happen, and then we can evaluate what's happening. And she's like, okay, cool. We move on. I already given a lot of feedback to Mary and what we have written in the documentation blog, make blog.
Yep.
But good on that aspect. Now, moving on. 6.9 AI. The reason one of the biggest reasons for this sponsorship is that my intention was to write documentation with AI to speed up the process, help us try to make sure that we finish at the time the release is happening, because we are never on time. We get the updates kind of late, and writing the documentation really takes time. So I've been doing this. I've been doing experiments, a lot of it, but I have learned, something like horrible, big lesson. The learning curve is not that simple. Learning AI is not that simple. Everybody, I think that by now, when we are, in software and we're working on this, we kind of have an idea of concepts, concepts here, a concept there, a thing here, a thing there, but we don't put it all together. At least I did not. I have 3 use cases that I wanted to write on my blog about it, but I wasn't sure. I was still unsure about what I was doing, and somebody recommended me to take the Google AI Basics certification, which I started this week, and I realized that I'm doing the right thing, but I went with the wrong approach, because, like I said, I got one concept from here, one concept from there, one concept from over here, and I made a mess. So I have to say, I have my starting point and my end point on all 3 use cases. I just need to redo the path with the correct approach this time.
Yes.
So I will be doing that, and I'll be, because I gotta hurry up so that I can finish 6.9 and I give time to the reviewers to review all the documentation. And then once we do this, I will going to document everything that I do on my personal Gemini, because I think I'm gonna work with Gemini this time, and then once I create all the documentation, I am going to meet with the AI team, the core AI team from WordPress, to see how we can integrate all of this into what they are building. Because something that I just learned, you can teach the LL, but you will teach your own system. Like, you don't teach it globally. All the data that goes into it only updates whenever they update the the tool, the AI tool. Something I didn't know. I thought it was you put it in and it becomes live immediately. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. So I think that I need to find out, the AI team, how can we approach that in a way that we can all use one system, so that we can, teach it, and we can update documentation and create new documentation.
Yeah, definitely.
With what they are building.
It sounds like a huge challenge. And a lot of people, they say AI is going to help us, but we need to train AI also. And
Yeah.
to understand a little bit more about the process, about your approach, whether you failed the first time, or need a lot of improvements, it doesn't really matter. But the global approach, we have a release schedule for 6.9. It is planned for December 2nd.
Yes.
December 2nd is the release date, the planned release date. Until that time, there are going to be beta releases. There are going to be release candidates. In a practical way, there are a lot of features going to be added. There are things going to be changed. How does your workflow look like? If we pull out one feature, how do you write the documentation also together with the AI thing?
Okay, so there is one post that is on the core make, that is the roadmap. Everything that is in that roadmap, the 6.9 roadmap, there is a post for every single release. So we keep everything in there. So what's in there is what is going to be built. So this is what we're going to turn in for this release. When something happens and a feature is not going to be released, or it's not going to be updated, or it's just not going to go through, this post gets updated. And there is a note at the bottom: update, feature A is not going to be updated because it makes, or it has a conflict with feature B, blah. So that way we keep track. We always do this. This is how the core teams and the release teams work.
Okay. You mentioned the roadmap of all the features that are going to be included. Where can people find that? On make.wordpress.org/core?
Okay, so here we go. It is in here, and it's right here. So roadmap. Oh, this is the 6.9. No, so sorry. This is the main roadmap. Then it's gotta be this one.
Yeah, and there it is. And on the top, it's roadmap.
It's roadmap right here. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
And roadmap to 6.9, all the contents. And you see it is right here. As always, everything is gonna make it. It
Yes.
says perfectly clear. Now, this is our intention. Sometimes it doesn't make it, and sometimes I make updates at the bottom. Change log. There you go. Remove an initial. Yeah, see, everything that happens when we change things, that's where it goes.
Yes. Okay.
All
Good.
right.
It's good to have
Okay.
this.
Yeah, you can have that on the stop sharing. There you go.
Yeah. So there is this nice roadmap
Mhm.
to the 6.9 release. Basically contains all the things. Well, on a higher level, what is going to be changed / added in WordPress 6.9. Based upon those changes, do you already begin with creating like a template for documentation about these changes?
That's what I did with AI, but I did it wrong. That's one of my use cases. The first one that I started with, and it's one that I wanted to start this because this is my initial thought on teaching the LLM the language of WordPress. So the first post that I or my first use case was, what is the difference between WordPress.com, WordPress.org, and WordPress the software? Because I keep asking ChatGPT, and ChatGPT insists that we can monetize WordPress.org. And the reason for that is because ChatGPT does not know the difference between .org, which is an editorial site, and the software. So that is a thing that we need to, that's one little piece of information of data that the LMS do not have. And
That's
makes
very
the whole
basic
thing
information.
confusing. Exactly.
Yes.
But that makes the whole thing confusing. The minute that you tell somebody, I can monetize WordPress.org, but where? I'm like, no, you cannot.
We're not doing that.
Nobody can access that site. So yeah, that was my first thing. And then the second use case that I used was creating, I asked it to review an article that we already have. And then I gave it to updates from previous releases, Gutenberg release and a general WordPress release. And then I gave it that, and it gave me an updated document that's not so accurate, but okay. I'm like, I'm good. I also fed it the our style guide, which is very important. And then the third use case was grabbing that roadmap, and I asked it to give me which are the end user features that are going to be new releases or updates. And it didn't give me too many. So I gotta go back and review it. Didn't give me too many, but it's getting there. So these are the things I need to teach the LMS. But then I decide, okay, I gotta do either ChatGPT or I gotta do Gemini, because yes, it is all about prompts, but I've noticed that they think differently. It's analyze different. They don't think; they analyze differently.
Good.
And
Yes.
And I think that I'm gonna stay with Gemini for this and finish it up in Gemini. I like to use ChatGPT, but for other things. No, I didn't like the way it analyze or the results that it gave me when I asked it to analyze an article. But ChatGPT gave me an awesome summary on a YouTube video.
Okay, yeah, that's a different thing.
Gemini could not give me. But you know what's the difference in there? The Gemini, it keeps telling me that they cannot give me a summary on a video, while ChatGPT can. And I'm still unsure if that's just because that has to be a paid feature. I haven't paid for Gemini. I do pay for ChatGPT, so might be that. Because the roadmap has videos, if you haven't noticed. They need to analyze those videos. The LLM needs to analyze those 2 videos or 3 videos that are on that post, so that they can give me the correct articles or features that are being updated or launched for the first time.
Well, basically, and I think that's a good thing to discover, is that if we want to use AI to enrich, help us creating the documentation,
Yes.
we need to focus on getting the right one. In this case, it probably will be Gemini. Looking a bit further, you mentioned that it cannot summarize the videos. I'm not sure if that's a paid feature. If it is, are there any options for the WordPress project to be able to use Google AI, Gemini in this case, for our contributors?
Well, I will have. That's the one thing I need to check with the AI team. But because they are right now in the middle of building things, and a lot of the features that they are building are going to come out for 6.9, which are all of them developer focus. There is nothing that is going to hit the end user with the AI right now. It's going to be developer focus, because they need to start in the back end. They need to start in the background and start building up all the way to the front. So, but once I figure out my thing, it's just that I need to have the use cases, because I need to have the steps. I need to have the roadmap to see, okay, this is where I am. This is where I want to go. This is the path I need to take. So I created it. Now put it in WordPress. I don't know how to do that part. So that's yours. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And that's what I will do.
I think it's very good that this is being investigated, that this is also being documented.
Yes, of course.
You have to document how to create documents.
Everything. I document everything. Yeah.
That is perfect. Not just for yourself, but because we are a community, others might join and they don't want to reinvent the wheel,
No, exactly.
Documentation is very important, especially also for the documentation project.
And I think that another step could be, but that obviously this has to be, I need to talk to Mary and Matt about this. If maybe we can approach Google so that we can update this data faster into Gemini. But then that will have to be a Mary Matt question answer approach.
Yeah, but it's a good suggestion. Yeah, it's definitely a good suggestion, because our documentation, the WordPress documentation, changes not only with new releases, but also in the meantime. Stuff gets added, changed, updated. So it would be good to have Gemini update that as well. So yeah, that's a very good point to start discussing about that. To close off this nice interview, I have one remaining question. If people want to join or are interested in how the documentation team works, or if they want to join, how they can do that, can you tell us how they should approach that?
You are welcome to join us on the Slack, the documentation Slack. This is the Docs channel, DOCS. And we meet on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. UTC. Well, every Tuesday we have a contributor day every once a month, which lasts 3 hours. Our meetings normally are between 30 minutes and then 1 hour, depending on who's around and any updates. We take breaks in the summer, obviously, and Christmas time. I guess nobody shows up, but yeah, most of the time that's when we meet. We also have on the, let me see, make, what's the link for that for
I think it's
documentation? Make
make.wordpress.org/docs.
WordPress.org/docs. We have a pin article in there that it's the onboarding videos, so you can go ahead and release. And those are new. We update them constantly, even though the post says that is from I don't know, 2 years ago, I believe. We update
Even older,
those.
2022.
Okay, 3 years. But the
Yes.
videos, we do update them constantly.
Perfect.
New change, then we update the video. We change something, we update the video. So Milana does that all the time. And
Excellent.
yeah, and we are going to start doing, we're going to add also the videos to the release for the release team, but we're still working on the process. We have about, like I said, I told you that I had a lot of drafts happening. One of those is, how is the documentation team going to work in releases? And because it's, I don't know why the core handbook has it like a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit over there. So we're gonna try to put it all together and tell them like, you guys gotta fix your handbook and just this is the way it has to go. Otherwise, people do not read. People don't go chasing information that they know is going to require more work. That's one
Yes.
thing that we need to understand. So if
Yeah,
you tell them
definitely.
you just have to do this, they will forget about the other 10 stuff that they need to do. The other 10 things, they're not going to get done. And that's how other teams, whether documentation is community or whoever, polyglots, this is how we get, stuck and dumped with a bunch of tasks that keeps us, that keeps us always behind.
Yeah, exactly. So to summarize, if people want to join documentation or are interested to learn more about the documentation team, go to make.wordpress.org/docs. There's a nice onboarding post there, written by Milana. Don't be scared by the publication date because it has been updated. So I invite people to check that out. Well, Estela, I want to thank you for your time today to give us a little bit more insights in the documentation process for 6.9. And I'm going to wish you all the best and fun in finalizing stuff and getting a grab on your new procedure by using AI to help you document this.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thanks again and have a
Thanks
great day.
again.
Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you. Bye.